Howdy, everyone. While I wait for people to join, obviously I'll just do all the usual stuff. If you're in need of my help whatsoever, check out the links in the description. They'll take you to my website where you can obviously sign up for coaching. If you're interested in the second channel, all the links to that will be in the description as well. If you're interested in Katie's channel, all the links to that will be in the description. Don't know what else there is to say, really. While I wait for people to join, there will be a link to get a discount on a subliminal app coming up quite soon, which should be quite cool. I absolutely love the app. The only reason I'm waiting to announce it or to tell you about the app is purely because I'm working on getting you a discount for it so that you don't have to pay the full price. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer. But I love it. I reckon you guys are going to absolutely love it if you use subliminals. And yeah, now that people are starting to join, I can get on with the questions and stuff. So Satyam says, hey, howdy. And they also ask, will my affirmations work if I affirm as though it already happened? Yes, that's actually ideal. My camera's there. I got to remember to look at there. Yes, that's actually ideal. So when you're affirming, you want to affirm as if it's happening or already happened, because your subconscious mind pushes out basically what it expects you to already be experiencing right now or have experienced. You must first become it in order to receive it. So by saying, will it work as though if I affirm as though it already happened, that implies that it's happened yet. So in order for you to be the person who has already experienced that, it must push it out to create it to prove to you that you've already experienced that. So yeah, as if it's already happened is absolutely fine. I'm just going to put it up on my Instagram for people to join so we can get more people in, because you never know, someone else might ask a question that you didn't know you needed the answer to. So if I just do all of this stuffs, your story, cool, that's live. Jordan Strang, howdy. Jordan Strang says, howdy, Matt. Hope you're doing well. Did you have a good birthday and been teacher? Okay, I'll answer the next part next. Yes, actually, obviously my birthday was last week, but yeah, the birthday was really nice. My mum and sisters and that came down. Obviously, I missed actually the live stream because of everything. I was so busy and I was exhausted on the Sunday. But yeah, no, it was really good. Thank you for asking. And we also, obviously, you wouldn't be aware because you're not a direct client, but I haven't actually been able to answer any of my emails yesterday and today because we were at a hotel spa, which was a manifestation success in itself, which I will actually get like a short video explaining about that soon. But yeah, so I haven't been very consistent with my emails yesterday and today. So I've been doing a massive catch up. But overall, the birthday and the birthday celebration and everything was lovely. So thank you for asking. And then Jordan Strang also says, been teaching my mum how to set intentions and she's already seeing results. That's really good. See, I often find that when it comes to small desires, newbies to the law tend to be quite good at it because it's like a blank state, like you haven't learned too much to the point where you're like, well, this thing like worked within 10 days, this thing worked within 3, and why is this not working, yada yada yada. So I find that when you teach someone new how to set intentions for like small things, they tend to just work really well. Is when we start to overcomplicate it by overthinking it, that's when obviously things happen that like aren't desirable. But no, I'm glad she's finding results in it for sure. SCH or SSCH says, I saw you posted a success story of a comment saying you helped us step by step to get our SP back. Can I ask what you guys did? So I posted 2. So let me see which specifically I referenced, because there was one that was a client, and then there was one she was the one that won a I don't know if you were around at that time, but I did a 3 video call giveaway for when I hit 3K subscribers. They were one of the people that won that, so I helped them a little bit. Anyone reading this, please do. Okay, so it's not that one. What did you say? They said step by step to get her SP back. I'm assuming you mean the one where they said that they come in. Oh, hang on. Oh no, you might actually be the client one. So I'm trying to figure out which one you're on about, because I posted a couple and I have loads in my saved as well to share with you guys. So I'm trying to read which one it was that I helped step by step. You didn't say anything else yet. Okay. Well, they're basically all the same sorts of things anyway. I can't find which one step by step, and I don't want to spend too long reading at it. So I'm just going to go basically and tell you what my general process is for helping people. So usually what happened, the one from Tesla Girl. Okay, that makes more sense. Let me go straight to Tesla Girl then. Tesla Girl. Anyone reading this, please do what Matt says. This works. He was so patient and kept me on track, and my SP has come back in a different person to the one he was. Thank you again, Matt, for your help. So Tesla Girl originally came to me asking for a little bit of help, obviously, as everyone does. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Tesla Girl came to me for something else prior to coaching, whether it was a tape or some affirmations. I can't remember exactly. Get a lot of people, obviously. But yeah, I gave them the first service if it's the person I'm thinking of, but then the rest of it, which I do definitely know it was them. A lot of our coaching was like, I gave them like a brief, here's the process. Here's what works really well for me. Here's what I find, is great. This is what commonly people have happen, and kind of just an overall. And then along the way, the email coaching is mostly used for people that have questions regularly, that they quite often need that. Oh, but what about this? Or how do I deal with this? And that kind of thing. So that was kind of what happened quite a lot is she came back to me basically saying, oh, this is a situation. What do I do? This is a question. How do I deal with this? And I basically just, I don't want to say this because it makes it sound bad, but like held her hand. It wasn't quite that bad, but you know what I mean? Like I kind of each day I was there answering any questions, any negatives that she kind of presented to me. I was like, but have you considered this? She purchased a service for me to affirm for her as well. And I think that worked quite well. And yeah, it was basically just that. Along the way, it was, Matt, I'm having this kind of problem, or I have this kind of question. How do I handle it? And then I'd give some suggestions, or I'd answer the question. And then I'd try to remind her, if you think of certain things that aren't desirable, this may be what plays out. However, you have the choice to think of desirable things. And it was kind of just along the way, I just reminded her of the end result of the goal that she was aiming to achieve. And then our coaching ended, I think, like mid last month. I may be mistaken, but not long ago. And then obviously I got that a couple of days ago. But that was basically all that coaching was. They did very well. Obviously everyone does extremely well when they get the successes, otherwise they wouldn't have it. But she did very well. And yeah, that was basically how we went along with it. I don't want to tell too much about her story because I have permission to post the comment, but I don't know how much of it I can say. So if she ends up seeing this video, then this live stream while she's in it, or if she ends up seeing it afterwards, obviously she might let me know that she's more than happy for me to tell more, but I don't want to say too much. But that was basically what it was. I just kind of helped out along the way and got her on the right path, steered her back to it when she fell off, that sort of thing. Satyam says, can I change my skin color and eye color? So this is a question that I can never tell whether people are trying to like mock me or not. But I personally have never done it. I personally have never even tried to change my eye color or skin color. So I cannot speak from my own experience saying that, yes, it's possible from my own experience. However, there are a few people that are like in other comment sections and other LOA coaches that have said, yes, you can do it. And if that's what they believe and if that's what they've had experience with, then I would go with them. For questions like that, I would like refer to people that have done it themselves. Not that I don't believe it's possible. I just don't have the experience to say that it 100% is from my own experience. And I've not had a client come to me saying that they want to change their skin color or eye color. So I haven't worked with anyone to get them to that point. So I don't have the evidence that you may be looking for. But there are other coaches out there that said that they've had. So it might be worth asking them. I don't know whether she's back yet or not, but I'm pretty sure Ava manifested that, said that she's changed her eye color, or she had a client that changed her eye color or something. So I would advise going to people that have got the experience in that. Aquarius Child says, vision boards really do work. I put a pic of the Eiffel Tower on my vision board in 2018, and I've just come back from visiting Paris. The law of attraction is real. Yeah, vision boards are amazing. I actually have, I've changed it now actually on my phone. I used to have my vision board on my phone that Katie made me. We actually have a service for that. So if anyone's interested in vision boards, by all means, go check out the services. But yeah, I love vision boards. I think they're very good. I think they're very useful, even if it's just like a thing to remind you to affirm. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I hope the trip to Paris was good for you. Satyam says, when manifest, we are not trying to change a 3D, the current reality, we're shifting into our desired reality. Absolutely. And then Satyam says, does revision actually change the past? So my perception on revision is it doesn't necessarily change the past, it changes your perception of the past. And because your subconscious mind doesn't have a concept of what of past, present, and future, everything is all experienced now, it changes your perception of the past, which then changes the way that it perceives things to have gone, leading to a different outcome. So whether or not you consider it changes the physical past, the 3D past, up for debate. My perspective of it is that it just changes the way that you perceive it. And because you now perceive it differently, your subconscious mind changes things to get you into that situation, essentially. SCA, I answered that one. Belief Doubt says, do you recommend subliminals? Absolutely. So if you've been around for a long time in my channel, you'll know that in one of the earlier live streams, I said that I'd never really used subliminals. I even did a little test just to kind of prove them. Subliminals were never anything that I was interested in when I first got into the law, so I never really continued them on. But I had a lot of people coming into my live stream saying, hey, what do you think about subliminals? So I tested them, and I tested them with a money subliminal, and the next couple of days, money was amazing. I got like a bunch of new clients. I got an unexpected amount of money in my page slip from my work. And Katie also got more money from her work than she had expected. And not for like a reason that made sense, not like a Christmas bonus or anything like that. Like it was just random. So I started using them a bit more. And then I was actually approached by a like an app development person, or like a company that has a subliminal app, and they said, you know, what do you think of a subliminals? They asked me that in one of the live streams, and I said, well, from my experience, I absolutely love them. I think they're like, I used them for money, got successes, yada yada yada. And then they sent me a message on Instagram basically saying, here, have this app, or like have access to this app, try it out, let us know what you think. And then I tried it and I actually loved it. I thought it was great. I think it's a really good app, and I actually use it basically every single day. And then they were like, well, we can do an affiliate thing. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you're in the stream at the time. Oh no, I don't know if you're in the stream at the time, but I actually have a subliminal app that I'm working alongside to try and get an affiliate for, to get you guys a discount. The only reason it's not here yet is because originally there was no discount for you lot, but I went back to them and basically said, let's give the clients a discount and take it out of my sort of commission. So they're now working on the development side of that to get it for you. But yes, back to your original question, I 100% recommend subliminals, and not because I'm going to get any form of money from it, because I couldn't care less about money, but the app that I'm going to announce to you guys when everything is sorted out, I 100% recommend. I think it's amazing. Like I said, I use it every single day. It's got so many different themes and topics and stuff for subliminals. I think it's incredible. So yes, I do recommend subliminals. As long as they're good ones. Some of the ones on YouTube, be careful, because some people do just make random shit. So just be careful with like the odd YouTube ones. But yes, I do recommend subliminals if they're from a respectable source. If we could just like the video as well, the live stream, sorry, just so that it gets pushed out to more people, get more questions in, and get more of an audience engagement, shall we say. So I'd really appreciate that if you could all like the video. Satyam says, what is the main thing that manifests? Is it the feeling, or is it the state, or is it the thought? Okay, so the feeling and state, they're not the same, but they kind of go hand in hand to an extent. So we have a thought. Now, a thought isn't, thank you all for liking that. Actually, that was a massive jump up in likes. So thank you very much for that. The thoughts, they happen consciously, unconsciously, it doesn't matter. What manifests is the awareness that you place on those thoughts. So if I have a thought about, you know, losing £1 million today, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen. But if I put my focus on that, saying, oh, but you know, I'm used to losing money, and like this could actually happen, and I start picturing a life where I've lost that money, I'm now assigning meaning to that. I'm now stepping into the state of having that money lost and placing my awareness on that. So what manifests is, you know, feeling as though that is your life right now, not necessarily feeling as in like emotions. You don't necessarily have to feel like negative or well, obviously more than often not, I'd probably feel negative, but you don't have to be like unhappy or sad or happy or anything like that for it to manifest. They do help, and I could get onto that if you're interested in knowing why I say that, but it's the feeling of though it's real. So if I was to have a thought about being completely broke, I know that I've got more than enough money in my bank account to get me through. So I wouldn't really feel like that's a true thought. But if I was extremely poor, and then I have thoughts about how am I going to get through the month, I would probably assign a lot of meaning to that thought. I would probably feel like, oh shit, you know, I need to do something, otherwise I'm going to be broke. It's the feeling, it's the awareness that you place on the thought. So I wouldn't say that, and the state that you're in when you're having these thoughts. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's directly the thoughts, because if it was thought alone, every thought would manifest. It wouldn't really make sense. But it's the awareness that you're placing on them, is stepping into the state that manifests through that thought. Tori says, where were you at your manifestation journey when you were manifesting your SP? If you don't mind me asking, what do you mean by where was I? As in, like, had I just started Lawofassumption, like work, or was I like, you know, halfway in? What do you mean by where were I at? If you could give me a little bit more context on that. 1 second. Sorry, kids are still awake, so I had to go tell them to go to sleep. They should be asleep. They're both ill, and they're just, now that like they've been quiet and drained all day, and now they're in bed, they're like, I want to jump. And it's ridiculous. Edgar Hack says, what do you do if you don't know what to manifest? I don't know what career to manifest, for example. So if you don't know the specific, like as in career, for example, I'm sure that you know what you want out of that. So you may not know whether or not you want to be a doctor or a piercer or a tattooist or a model, but you might know that you want to work from home. You might know that you want to earn X amount per year. you want to have the freedom to travel, you probably know the specifics of what this job can offer you or what you would like to be able to have access to through a job. So even though you may not know the actual topic, if you just focus on, I love having a job that pays me X amount, or I love being able to travel because I work from home, or I work remotely, you can kind of go with that instead. And then whatever job that fits that category will come along. So, for example, I wanted to work from home. I knew that was something I really wanted to do. And if you see my manifesting a job success story, you'll know that like that was a whole ordeal, but it still worked in the end anyway. But I knew that I wanted a specific work from home. And when I saw this job advertised, it was like way more money. And I was like, no, I want that money, and yada, yada, yada. So I went for like the details of what I wanted in a job, and then came across a job that had basically all of those details, and then applied for that. You don't need to know exactly what you want to do, but if you do know anything about it, then I would go for that. So if you know what kind of industry, if you know what kind of money you want to earn, or whether it's remote or anything like that, use those to your advantage. Serrano Pepper says, I finally don't feel the need to affirm all the time now. My mind automatically speaks as if I already have it. Should I update my affirmations or keep them as is? I've been going at this since April. So when you say should you update them, what do you mean update them? Like what, update them to what? What would be the next step if you were to update them? Because if you're in that state, I would say not to necessarily force yourself to continue, but I would still say kind of keep up with them just in case. You don't want it to kind of like fall back a little bit and then have to not start again, because you don't have to necessarily start again, but you obviously want to keep that high. And I recommend still kind of using affirmations on and off while you're doing this. But I am curious to say what you mean update them, as in like if things have changed since you started using them. Is that what you mean? If so, then I suppose you could do that, but it's not 100% necessary. I think it's all situation dependent. Like if your affirmation used to be that you earn £10,000 a month, but now you've realized that because of your bills, you actually need to earn a little bit more, then yeah, obviously you can update them to match that. So now I earn £15,000 a month. But if it's something that's still kind of in place, then just keep them the same if you want to. But again, personal preference. You can change them if you want, or you can keep them the same. Cinnamon Cheesecake says the full manifestation comes after several birds before land. Not necessarily. Birds before land is basically your awareness just pushing out stuff that's in line with what you're trying to manifest. It's pushing out. So if you're saying I want a person to be married to me, it could push out stuff like wedding like videos, or on your TikTok, or a TV program that's got someone getting engaged or something just along those lines. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to receive birds before land before you experience anything of your desire. Anybody that's watched my manifesting the X back video, where I obviously got Katie back, there was nothing. We were in no contact from the second I walked out the door. Didn't speak to her, didn't hear anything about her, nothing until I missed a phone call and then called her back, and then obviously we met up and reconciled. So birds before land is not 100% necessary. So if you haven't had any birds before land, don't get discouraged. Keep going to your end result. You can still get it even without it. Geetha says, hey Matt, I hope you're doing well. I am thank you very much. I hope you're doing well too. I got good movement from my SP last week, but it's still not the final outcome I want, but it feels like that was it. My mental diet is pretty good, but what can I do to just nail down my final outcome and have him show up the way I want him to? So this is quite interesting. I hear this kind of comment quite a lot, mainly from like my actual clients, when they say, like, I've got movement last week, but it's still not the final outcome, or it'll be like, I've got movement, but I want my full result. And then they tell me that their mental diet is pretty good. In my opinion, your mental diet isn't as good as you probably think it is if you're still concerned that you're not getting your end result. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that you're doing bad per se. I just mean that a lot of the time people say that their mental diet is good, but then when you read the rest of their comment or question or statement, usually it means that there's still something to be had there. But my advice for you would be to stop worrying about that this is it or that was it. Stop assuming that what you received was all you're going to get, because all that's going to happen is you're placing your awareness on that being the factor, and then that means that that's probably all you're going to get to happen until you start to shift your focus. So my advice, keep the mental diet, keep living in the end and dwelling on the end and assuming things are working out in your favor. If you can't get over the fact of whatever you've experienced being it, then just say that that was it for the moment, but you're actually experiencing it. And then when you feel better, go back into the end result. But my first bit of advice would be to stop looking at the 3D as it is and assuming that that means that that's it, assuming that that's the end result, or that's as far as you're going to get, because then that's assigning meaning to the wrong thing, and that's being in separation of your desire. Anything that happens that is undesirable, that should be disregarded or looked over, or at least just accepted to be temporary until your actual desire comes in. Uh, One second again, sorry. Sorry. Gotta find where I was now because the chat skipped. Tori says, yes, I meant had you just started your journey. So, no, the way that my journey worked was I got into the law of attraction first a couple of years ago, found some successes in it, but the big thing that I was trying to manifest, I couldn't get it to work. Now, I know why. Looking back in hindsight, I know exactly why it didn't work, but I kind of gave up on it. You know, I was like, well, I got some successes, but I can't be asked to consciously create if I'm only going to get some successes. I'd rather just let the universe do its thing. And then I kind of like somewhat come across it. I think like a channel that I'd subscribed to when I was in, because I was mostly in law of attraction, but I'd found some law of assumption people like Joseph Ally, for example. And I think there was a channel that I can't remember who it was, but they were a law of assumption one, and they'd posted for the first time in ages. And this kind of got me back into it because I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about all that. Let me just have a look, see what's going on. And then I started practicing it again, and even though I was practicing the law of assumption and I had success when I lost Katie, my losing of Katie was less about the law and more about the fact that I had just completely binned my life. I had absolutely just ruined everything. I was unemployed, and, you know, like just everything went to shit. And I found myself really difficult to get out of that state, even though I knew that the law was like, well, you know, believe it and you'll have it sort of thing, or like assume to have it and you'll have it sort of thing. I just couldn't get myself out of that rut. And then that's why Katie left. So in terms of when I got her back, I was probably like midway through my journey. I'd had a lot more successes and I'd done really well with the law prior, but it wasn't from a lack of knowledge about the law that I lost Katie. It was just a straight up, I just completely let myself go, like mentally, like everything just came crumbling down. So I was quite aware of the law, but just had kind of stopped using it, I suppose, or stopped utilizing it, shall I say. So that's where I was. I'd probably say about maybe half to 2/3 of the way through my journey, give or take. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah. Belief Doubt says, is knowing it's going to happen a great sign? Because sometimes I try to think, am I too confident? It's like my subconscious is sure this will be. So I think if you know that it's going to happen, that's a very good sign. It usually shows an internal shift of, you know, stepping into the state. Because obviously your subconscious mind runs the way that you kind of think and feel unconsciously. So if you kind of get into this point where you just know that it's done and it's like kind of an unconscious knowing, that means there's some form of impression has happened. There's an internal shift where you've now stepped into this new state of having it, like officially. And it's kind of just a case of sticking to that until all the pieces in a 3D reality come together. But I'd say that's a good sign. And you can never be too confident with the law. I think it's one of those things where people kind of have this, you know, what if I get too confident and it doesn't work kind of mentality, or what if I get something good? Will I just lose it again not long after? Stuff like that. And it doesn't work like that. You can never be too confident. You can never be too like secure and sure in yourself. If you do feel very confident, enjoy it, embrace it, because there's a lot of people that would die to be in your position. 1 second, I actually have to go tell them off. Sorry about that. Katie's not here today, so she can't go and deal with them when they're shouting and stuff like she usually does. Tambi says, hey, howdy. Satyam says, how can I manifest a free iPhone? Assume that you already have it and assume that you had it for free. So I don't know whether you like affirmations or visualizations or anything, but, you know, tell yourself, if you like affirmations, just like, I'm so grateful to have received a free iPhone, or, you know, the free iPhone that I got has allowed me to do XYZ, or everyone's so jealous that they had to pay for their iPhone and I got mine for free. There's just a couple of examples. Or if you like visualization, you could visualize someone giving you the iPhone and saying, yeah, have this sort of thing. Anything along those lines. But you want to assume that it's already happened, basically, or dwell in a reality in which it's already happened, or tell yourself that it's already happened. Serrano Pepper says, I guess even though I feel in the state, I still wonder sometimes why I've been doing this so long. Well, that's why. If you keep wondering why you've been doing it so long, you're in separation of having your desire. You wouldn't be questioning why has it been so long if you had it right now. You don't ask how long dinner's going to take to cook if you're currently eating it. That's probably why oh yeah, you said afterwards, that's probably why they're asking why it's not here never helps. Yeah, exactly. I kind of jumped the gun a bit with my answer there, but yeah, at least you kind of at least you're aware of that being at least partially the reason. Probably a big chunk of it. Damn it, it skipped again. And then oh, you deleted your comment after while I was answering it. John Davies says, hi Matthew, I'm manifesting an SP. At this moment, I feel at ease and happy myself. I do watch a lot of videos every chance I get. Would you say this is obsessing? I would say so. The thing with the law, it's not very difficult. And I know obviously a lot of people might get a bit annoyed at that, but the fact of the matter is it's at its broad basis, it's very much just what you want to achieve. Figure out what you want to achieve and then start telling yourself you've already achieved that. Anything that isn't in line with that, you just ignore it or you let it go and you continue reminding yourself of what you've already achieved or experienced. That's what it is at the very core basis, essentially. So once you understand that, once you start putting it into practice, if you kind of continue to watch video after video after video after video, especially when you say that at every chance I get, that's usually a surefire sign that you might be a little bit too obsessed, or that might be an element of obsessing. Because it is just a case of, are you thinking about your desire as if it's already happened, or at least in a positive, beneficial way? Yes, great, continue. No, why not? And then if there might be an answer for it, then you shift that and start focusing on it in the way that you want. And then, yeah, keep rinse and repeat. Videos are helpful. And sometimes there might be a technique that is announced, or that someone posted a video about that you've never seen before, or anything like that. And it might be a technique that you resonate really well with and it can benefit you. So I'm not saying never watch content again, but I think if you're watching it every chance you get and most videos are just repeating the same thing you already know, then there's an element of obsession there. And I would say that you're probably hiding from the fact that you have to do the work. You kind of are, expecting the next video to be the thing that saves your process, or to give you the answer that you've been waiting for. And then it's just one video after another, which is obsessing and not doing the work. So I would say that's partially obsessing. So maybe take a second look at that. Serrano Peppers says, is it normal to wonder why it's not here still, even if you're able to get into the state? So I think it's common. I don't want to necessarily say normal, because I see normal as in part of the process. I think it's common. And I think for the most part, yes, people do tend to wonder why it's not here yet. But again, obviously I answered your comment a second ago before you deleted it. That's exactly why, or that's a big factor as to why it's not here yet when you ask that question. I think it is a habit. I think it's a common habit for people to wonder why it's not here yet, with the rise of, social medias and pornography and Netflix and all of this kind of shit. We are rewiring our brains to be very much like instant gratification. You want a dopamine spike? Netflix is available. You want to feel like you've accomplished something? Go on the Xbox and go earn an achievement. All these instant dopamine spikes, instant gratifications, they all exist to basically keep us where we are. And this is one of those factors. This is one of those situations where you expect it to be quick, or your brain is used to everything else being able to just open up your phone and it's there. So when there's this thing that's taking long, your brain can't hack it. Your brain can't understand why something's taking so long in a world where everything is borderline instant. And this is why you'll find there's a big correlation between people that have success are also the ones that meditate. Not everyone. I'm not going to say to everyone, but a big portion of people who meditate have success, because their brains are now used to just sitting there quiet and waiting for something, or sitting there knowing that they're doing the right thing, that will come. So I think it is a common habit where people wonder why it's not here, even when they're able to get into the state, because you can get in and out of the state at all moments. If I was to tip my waitress, you could argue that that's being in the state of abundance, because I have more than enough money to give her money that's more than what the actual thing is worth. So that could be the state of being abundant. And then I could immediately go outside and say, oh, sorry, can't afford a taxi home. And that's going back into the state of being broke. So you can constantly fluctuate states anyway, regardless of whether it's for your desire or not. So this is why it's still a common habit for people to wonder why it's not here yet, even when they can get into the state, because you can get into the state just as quickly as you can fall out of it. This is why the act of redirecting your focus back to the state is so extremely important. Tambi says, I asked my question on Discord. We'll wait for an answer. I will get back to you on that as soon as I finish this live. I have literally yesterday we went to a spa hotel because of my birthday last week and then Kate's birthday a couple of weeks ago, and we just did a joint celebration this weekend. And I literally had so many emails to get back to, and like a couple of people were like, "Have you received my email? Oh, like just wondering if I'm going to hear an answer anytime soon." And like a lot of people to come back to. I'm usually like really genuine about that kind of stuff. Like, if anyone's in here that could vouch for this, like if I'm the problem, I'll add like days to coaching or give you like free stuff or whatever, because it's on me. You guys pay for the coaching. I'm not gonna like take the piss. But I came back to so many emails. So if you sent your Discord message anytime over the past like day or two, I haven't gone back to it because I've been swamped. As soon as I got home, it was email, put the kids to bed, set up the live stream. So apologies, I will get back to it after this live. I am says, what if you are the one what if you are the one you deleted / blocked your SP? Okay, so what if you're the one who blocked / deleted your SP to avoid spiraling and 3D triggers? Will this make reconnection harder? No. From a creation standpoint, infinite power. I don't know. Yeah, infinite power. I don't know. I feel like I see something different there instead. In terms of like infinite power, it doesn't make it any harder at all. Your conscious mind will probably look at it as in that's going to be harder. How are they going to message me if they're blocked? But your subconscious mind has infinite power. There is no limitations to it, past, present, future, good, bad, evil, nothing like that matters to it. It just makes whatever you assume to be true to happen. So if you kind of gal your way and just continue to focus as though it's already happened right now or happening, it will still make it work regardless of whether you're blocked on the moon, anything, like wherever you are, it'll make it happen. So don't worry about that. Your conscious mind is saying that it must be harder, but it's really not. From creation side, it's not. Top FJ says just ordered feeling is the secret. Oh, nice. And then also ask, is it okay to say your affirmations at a slower pace? Absolutely. If you feel you want to say it fast, loud, quiet, slow, backwards, it doesn't matter. As long as you know what you're saying and you're really feeling into it as though it's true, it will work. Cappadocian Kid says, "Hey Matthew, I'm in a state. I'm a good state with money. Whenever I pay, I'll get more instantly. I like to manifest a lottery win. Last time my tickets lost. How can I ignore it?" Okay, so when you say how can I ignore it, I'm assuming you mean because you did a lot of work and then you bought a ticket and then it failed and now you're feeling disappointed. If that's what you mean, then let me know. Just purely because if I was to buy a lottery ticket and lost, I usually just throw them in the bin. I don't even think about them again. So I'm wondering why you would need help on how to ignore it. But my assumption would be you mean like if I was to have it in my hand and go, oh, I lost, you let it go. That would literally be that. That's all it is. The act of like having something happen doesn't necessarily matter. It's the spiraling and the placing your awareness on that thing. So if you were to lose the lottery ticket and you were to say like, I never win. Why do I never win? Oh, look at this. I never win. And tell everyone that you know that you didn't win. That's like dwelling on it. That's really feeling into the fact that you didn't win. But if you were to, just get a lottery ticket and go, oh, I didn't win, and then put it down and never think about it again, then that's perfectly fine because that's literally just one thought, one accepting statement. And then if you go on to continue to focus on having won, you'll be absolutely fine. So you don't need help to ignore it. Just make sure that you're not dwelling on it is essentially what I mean. But if you meant something different, by all means, let me know. I'm really thirsty. Oh, okay. So Top FJS says, for example, I have £100, wait 2 seconds, and then say the next one and so on. Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to say them like 20 affirmations within 4 seconds. You say them however you want to say them. As long as you're saying them and they're from the end result or as if it's already happened, then you're absolutely good. Arnab says, I'm manifesting my SP, but I and she haven't met in real life. Can I use imaginal phone conversation with my closest friend as an alternative for spending time together? Absolutely. I would say that if you're using the phone conversation, whatever you're talking about on that phone is as though it's happened or happening. So I don't know, like, oh, me and XYZ person had like a lovely date tonight. I can't wait for our next, or something like that. Or, oh, hey, you want to come to XYZ's wedding with me or something? Like, just things of that nature, as if it's already happened and you're telling them about it, not like being on the phone telling your friend, oh, there's this girl I really like. I hope one day I get to meet her. Because then that's obviously just going to be in a situation where you hope to one day meet her. John M says, how to handle imposter syndrome when reality has shifted and you still feel like you're in your previous self-concept. I've heard of imposter syndrome. I actually don't know what it is. Let me just Google this. I feel like I roughly know what it is. Uh, oh, so it's essentially meaning that your imposter syndrome is the idea. Go away, ad. Imposter syndrome is the idea that your success in life is only due to pure luck, accidental circumstances, or someone else's mistake, and not due. Okay. So your question was how to handle imposter syndrome when reality has shifted. So I am curious how you can know about LOA and practice LOA, but then have imposter syndrome. Because obviously, if you know about LOA and you kind of believe in it and everything, then you would know that everything is a creation of yourself. So you physically could not be an imposter in a reality in which you create everything. So I'm very curious to understand where your mindset is on this. But yeah, that's how I would handle it, because yeah, that every video says your thoughts create, you're first within, so without. In order to change a 3D, you must change you must first within, so without, and changing yourself before the mirror reflects. All those different like kind of statements that imply that nothing happens out there until it happens in here. So if that's the case, nothing that you could experience out there would happen unless it was a reflection of what's going on in here. So you physically cannot be an imposter to the 3D reality or have imposter syndrome. Well, not saying you can't have imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome is negligible when it comes to LOA because you are the creator. You cannot experience anything out there unless it's first been within here. So if you've managed to create something out there, then you are the version of you that should have experienced it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have created it. So I suppose if it was me personally, that's what I would remind myself of, like that everything is a creation of me. So if I'm experiencing it, I must be the version I need to be in order to experience it. And if you still feel like you're in your previous self, well, you can't be in your previous self concept and have the 3D reality conform unless you've fallen back into your previous self concept, in which case do the work that you did to manage to get yourself into the new self concept, because everything is awareness. So if you're panicking about being in the wrong self concept, if you're panicking about like imposter syndrome and everything, then there's the possibility that you're going to end up creating that for yourself, which is only going to put you back a step, even though you created where you are now. So it doesn't make sense anyway. So I would advise to remind yourself of that. It must first happen within here before it happens out there. And if you're experiencing it out there, it can't be imposter syndrome, and you can't be in your old self-concept unless you've fallen back into it, by which case I would just advise to start working on keeping yourself in the new self-concept, or continuing to build up your self-concept and enjoying the life that you're now living without worrying about it. Hashan says, no, not November, still going strong. Fair play. Proud of you for that one. We're almost over. Belief Doubt says, what if it's success story videos? I feel I watch a lot of those. So I find a lot of people watch success story videos to prove to themselves it's possible. And I think that's also a problem. I don't think watching success stories in itself is a problem. I think obviously it's content and it's nice to see that other people are getting their desires and it makes you feel good and everything. But I think a lot of people watch success story videos to prove to themselves it's going to work, instead of doing the work themselves to prove to themselves with their own success story that's going to work. I think a lot of people would rather watch 10 minutes of someone else saying it's possible because here's all of my clients that have had it work, as opposed to spending 10 minutes to do the affirmations, or 10 minutes to sit with their thoughts, or 10 minutes to meditate to try and clear their head. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but again, kind of similar to the obsession part of the live stream that I spoke about earlier, I think if you're doing it, there's more than likely a negative reason behind why you are. Is actually the reason why I stopped posting success stories for the longest time, because I found that a lot of people were sort of like coming to me on a more personal basis, not so much in the comments, but like in my emails and stuff, saying like, oh, well, that person's got it. How come they got it within a couple of months and I haven't got it? And I found that it was quite a negative thing. So that's why I've only just started doing it again, because I put up a poll and a lot of people said that they really wanted to see more success stories. So obviously I posted 3 in a row, but I would advise that you rein it in a little bit. Do the work so that you can become a success story, as opposed to watching other people's successes. Jade Lamb says, your thoughts on subliminals, something about drowsy state and the effectiveness of subliminal. I love them. I did go on this a little bit earlier on in the live stream, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet for it. I don't obviously go over like ages again, but I absolutely love subliminals. I have an app that I use now that they contacted me directly to basically ask me to give it a listen, see what I thought. I love it. I use it daily. When I'm doing my clients, I'll literally put on, I found a little bypass for it. It's really funny. You can't play multiple at once, but if I play one and then close the app, as in like get rid of the app, it still continues to play. So I got all of the favorite ones that I have and put them in a favorites list, and then I'll literally just play one, close it, play one, close it, play one, close it. So I've got like money, physique, confidence, wealth, all of these kind of things all just playing at once. So yeah, but I love subliminals. I love this app. I'm going to have the link for you guys to all have discount now. If any of you are on Apple and want access to the app with the discount, then message me directly because I have the Apple link. I'm just waiting for them to sort out the Android link. But I think subliminals are great. I think getting into a drowsy state and listening to a subliminals is really effective. I listen to subliminals while doing my emails, like my coaching emails, because it's all obviously sounds, not like people speaking. So I can still concentrate on the email. And I find it works wonders for me. Like I've had drastic changes in all of the areas that I'm watching. So subliminals at the moment are becoming one of my favorite things to utilize so that like when I'm not doing my affirmations and stuff. So yeah, I recommend them. Hashan said, I've just finished my 4,500-mile round trip to Texas on my motorcycle. Bloody hell. How was that? I hope that was good for you. Yeah, let me know how it was. Top FJ says, I want to be a pro footballer, but it's too late to join an academy or anything like that. Can I manifest my football skills and then manifest being scouted by a club? Absolutely. Just, create the reality that you want as up here and then dwell in it as though it's already happened right now. Get as clear as you can on it. So whether if it's like a specific club or specific position or something like that, then create that in your mind and then dwell in it as if it's already happened and continue to persist until it does. Age is just a conscious mind concept of like, oh, I'm too old to get into an academy. No. I mean, maybe from like the 3D, people say you can't join unless you're 28, but there will be instances that your subconscious mind can put together to get you into one. So don't worry about that. John Davies says, appreciate the feedback, mate. We'll take that on board. Thank you. You're very welcome. Top FJS says, there's a lot of limiting beliefs saying it's hard to become a pro athlete if you didn't start when you were a kid. Yeah, they're all limiting beliefs. They're all just people that have failed and now make excuses for why they fail. So don't listen to them. Break the mold. Instead of becoming part of the majority, become the minority that does succeed regardless of age, because you have the capabilities to, whether physically you do now or not, you have the capabilities to, because you understand the law, you understand conscious creation. So just bin those limiting beliefs off, bin off anyone that tells you that you can't do it, and just keep going. Hoshan says, I say to guys manifesting anything significant, stop jacking off, semen retention helps. I do agree for the most part. I think the reason why I think it helps is because when you stop jacking off, when you stop watching porn, when you stop doing all that kind of stuff, and this goes for you females as well, when you get rid of those dopamine spikes that come through like instant gratification, I think that it makes a difference because your brain becomes rewired for long-term gratification, long-term and connection and stuff. Because like people say like, oh, semen retention, yada, yada, yada. Jacking off is not helpful, but like obviously being intimate with a person is different because it has like a completely different way that it works in your brain. So I think, yeah, stop jacking off. And yeah, I go into this quite a lot in a lot of streams, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but it allows your brain to be rewired for long-term gratification, which then makes it easier for you to continue to do affirmations, to continue to live and all that lot without needing the results right now, which obviously in the long run makes them come easier because you're not looking for them then being in separation from them. So I do agree with you there. Cappadocian Sick Kid says, by the way, I hope you will do a collaboration with Golden Link with Caleb. That is a channel name that I've seen thrown around a little bit. I haven't really watched much. I think I saw one video like 9 months ago. And I don't even remember what it was about. I don't even remember whether I agreed with anything he said. The only thing that I remember is I'm pretty sure he was sat forward, but his camera was that way. So he was like looking over. And I was like, this is a very strange way to record a video. But I've heard good things about him. So maybe I'll might reach out to him or something and sort of look into doing a collaboration if people are interested in it. I'm interested in doing collaborations with basically anyone, even people I don't agree with. Like, for example, I've said some things about like my opinions on Joseph Ally in the past, but if someone was to say, I'd really love you to do a collaboration with Joseph Ally, I still would consider it, because even if you completely disagree with someone, you can still have discussions that could be helpful to the viewers anyway. So even if because I know a couple of people said, oh, I didn't think you liked Naya. And back before, I did say that I thought Naya was a little bit too much for me, but I think her recent content has definitely calmed down a little bit. I don't want to say calm down as if like she was going overboard, but just stuff that I don't really talk about as in calm down, because I obviously don't talk about tarots. I don't do crystals. I don't do alchemy or anything like that. I've mentioned it in the past on like slightly, but I don't like have a lot talking about it. So when I say calm down, that's basically what I mean. She did all of the stuff that I don't talk about. But I find that she hasn't done as much of that lately, and I started watching her content a little bit more just to kind of see if we like a collaboration would be worth doing with her. And I thought, actually, you know what, a lot of what you say, I do agree with. I do really resonate with her, especially during the Sammy Ingram 10K challenge. She was one of the few channels that I found that. Oh, 1 second, the cat's scratching the floor. I'm busy. Yeah, I found that she was one of the few channels that actually agreed with me. Not necessarily agreed with me as indirectly, like she didn't say, "Hey Matthew, I agree with you." But I found she was one of the few channels that were kind of talking about it in a sense of like, is this the best practice? So yeah, so I was like, actually, you know what, I'm going to reach out and do a collaboration because I feel like we have actually quite a lot of views that are similar. But that doesn't mean that I'm against doing collabs with people that I don't agree with. So yeah, I'll consider it. I might watch a bit of his content so I actually know what he's talking about, so that I don't just go in and be like, by the way, Caleb, no idea who you are, but let's talk. So yeah, if you're interested in any collabs, by the way, let me know either in comment sections or message me directly, because it's also really good for the channel growth. So yeah. Dev says, hello, howdy, Dev. A bit late to see you here today. Usually you're like one of the first couple. Glad you can make it though. Jordan Strang said, literally just had the best sign of one of my intentions. I'm manifesting meeting a band I love. When I see them live in a week or so, suddenly one of their songs plays on the TV, which never normally happens. That's cool. Who's the band? I really want to see Make Them Suffer. I don't know if any of you will know, but they're a band that I really got into. I've actually spoken to the lead vocalist before. I asked him for advice on how to map vocals when I first got into my band. And it's been a band that I've always really wanted to see. They're definitely one of my favorites, and I think they're amazing. So I really want to see them, and I'm hoping that they come to the UK soon. And it's one of like those weird little like because obviously I'm in a band, for any of you that don't know. I would love to do a show with them, like open for them, and then they headline. That would be the coolest thing. That would honestly be amazing, so I'm hoping one day that happens for me. But yeah, let me know who the band is. I'm interested. Dev says, where is Katie, your soulmate? Katie is out at the moment. She's watching her sister's show. I don't know what kind of show. She didn't really give me much information, but she's out watching a show. So I don't think she'll be back in time to do any of this live, which she's a bit disappointed about. She kept trying to get me to push it to tomorrow so that she could be involved, but I just said I'm going to do it today so I can relax tomorrow. Because like I said earlier, for any of you that were in the stream, I missed out on doing emails yesterday and sort of early today. So now I've been playing catch up, and I kind of want to get all of my business stuff out of the way today. So tomorrow I can just kind of plan next week's videos and get through any sort of like one-off emails that come through and start working on the course. That's also another thing. Sorry to break away. I did a post a couple of weeks ago, or like the last week or something, about the course. I plan to get it done by February. But because it's a people's course, obviously it's for you guys. I don't benefit from the course itself. Obviously there will be the financial side of it, but I don't benefit from the content. I want the content to be exactly what you guys want. I don't care what it is. I don't care how ridiculous your question is or how much you want in it. Obviously, if it's too personal, I won't go too much into detail, but I am pretty open. And even Katie's agreed that we're both pretty open for this course to be as expansive as we can possibly be. So if you have anything specific that you want in the Manifesting Your SPAC course, your SP back course, let me know either in emails or in comment sections or something. I put up a post, and everyone that commented on that post, I've taken notes of what you wanted. But if there's anybody else, please let me know, because we have until probably about January before I take no more sort of recommendations for the course or no more requests for the course, because I actually have to start getting all the content together. So you've got a couple of months. Anything that you want, doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, throw it at me. I want this to be as good as it can possibly be for all of you guys. Serrano Pepper says, how do you explain manifestation to your kids? I want to start talking to my son about it, but when I think of describing it, the wording seems too complex for my 6-year-old. Any suggestions? The way that I would describe it is point out something that they want, and then literally before they go to bed, show them. So I don't think telling kids is usually the best thing to do personally. I think showing them. So what I would do if it was me in that situation is literally just say, okay, what do you want? And then they say, I don't know, a Mario Teddy. Say, okay, you want a Mario Teddy. We've got clear on what we want. We have something that we want. And then every night before they go to bed, say it with them. I own a Mario Teddy. I own a Mario Teddy. And or like some sort of affirmation along the way. And in the morning, say it with them a few times. I own a Mario Teddy. And if they ask you why you're doing that, then you can explain that when you tell yourself that you have something enough, it happens. And you don't have to go into like all of like your subconscious mind makes that happen. Because all you need to do is that they just need to understand that if they're telling themselves something, it will happen. And then I would maybe, if you're trying to prove to them, you could obviously buy the teddy yourself just to kind of prove to them that it works. So then they'll start being more on board with doing it with you. Or if you really trust in the law and you want to let it happen, then let it happen. Let someone else buy it or let them come across it or something. But that's how I would do it. Keep it very simple and actually do it with them and show them how it works, as opposed to just telling them that if you tell yourself this thing multiple times, it's going to happen, and then just leaving them to do it on their own, because they're probably just going to forget and then never think about it again. So that would be my advice. Jade Lamb says, intrusive thoughts pop in and out. Is acknowledging it and letting it go a good way to deal with it, or should I just affirm over it? Your opinion about this? I say acknowledge it and let it go. I find that when you're affirming over something, you're trying to cover it up, and kind of like think of it like putting a lid on a boiling pot. It's just going to end up spilling over more because you're covering it up. I would advise literally just, intrusive thought. I see what you're showing me, but that's not true for me because I live XYZ, and then just let it go. If you need to take a few deep breaths, take a few deep breaths. But I wouldn't advise going like, no, this reality, because then that's smothering it. But if you let it come up and go, okay, I see what I'm being shown, but that's not for me, and then let it go, then you're all good. Ashley Lewis says, the best way to manifest multiple things at once. So it depends on what works best for you. For me personally, and for what I kind of generally advise, get 5 topics. I say 5 because I think any more than that, and it can be really difficult to try and stay consistent enough with it all. But get 5 topics. So for example, home, money, career, physique, and specific person. Write them all down. Write out kind of where you are now so that you can kind of get a rough understanding, and where you want to be with these specific topics. So it could be with your specific person. It could be living in a 3-bed house. It could be just anything like that. And then create a couple of affirmations for each topic that imply that it's already happening right now. And then if you like affirmations, obviously, then affirm a little bit each morning. Maybe let's say if you take 10 minutes and you've got 5 topics, do 2 minutes for the first topic, 2 minutes for the second topic, 2 minutes, and so on and so forth. And then as you go throughout your day, if anything comes up that makes you think of your desire, so let's say you're working on money and you go to a shop and you see something super expensive, if you remember, because that's obviously a big part of it as well, trying to trying to remember to do it, go, I can afford that because I've got so much money, and then just move on. If you don't want to buy it, you haven't got to buy it. You can just tell yourself that you can afford it and then move on. And it just implies that you have the money right now to be able to afford that. And then that's money done. If it's a specific person and you're working on building a better relationship, if you see them, that was an amazing day today that we had together. If it's career, you just tell yourself, like whenever you think about getting a new job, it could be, I could get any job I want because I'm the most sought after employee. And just anytime one of these things come to mind, you just tell yourself as if it's already happening the way that you want it to, or that things are being put in place to get you there. And then, utilize the morning and night to maybe do 2 minutes of affirmation rampage for each one, or a 2-minute visualization for each one, or write out scripts every single day about how amazing your career is, how amazing your physique is, how amazing your money is, and just kind of do it like that. You don't necessarily have to spend any more time than you currently do, because it's your dominant state that manifests. So if you were spending, let's say, for example, just 10 minutes a day on your specific person, and that 10 minutes was all that you thought about them, and you thought about them in a positive way, that's 10 minutes of being 100% in your dominant state. However, if you were to split that 10 minutes and have 2 minutes into each category, but you are 100% positive for those 2 minutes for each one, and that was all you thought about them for the rest of the day, that's still dominantly, even though it's less time, it's still your dominant state, because that's what you've more dominantly thought about, even though the time is less, assuming you're not thinking the opposite the rest of the day. If that makes sense. And that's why obviously I try to recommend to catch the thoughts as they come up. But that's how I do it, and it works quite well for me. Am says, for whatever reason, I really can't get over my ex, and I've been wanting to manifest him back, but there's always pain and jealousy involved. When I think that he has a new girl now, then I feel stupid for manifesting him. But for some reason, I always think he's the one because I never miss someone like this. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like I'm better off with a new person to manifest a new person. But I keep getting back to the state of wanting to manifest him. What do you suggest I do? So I think that, and this is also coming from like my own experience partially, I think a lot of the time when you physically cannot move on from someone, it's because you don't feel like you could do better than them. Like, I think that, let's use a job as an example, because I don't really want to go talking about my previous people on here. But there was a time when I had a job, And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So when I lost that job, I got fired. I was working like 2 hours a day when I was supposed to be working 7, because they made it so that my job was so easy that I could get an entire day's work done in 2 hours. And then they were looking at me like, how come you're doing it in 2 hours and everyone else is doing it in 7? So instead of telling them how they could have done it quicker, they fired me for not doing it, taking longer to do it. It was ridiculous. Obviously, it was my own creation. I must have like had some thoughts about leaving that job or something, but the way that it played out was just ridiculous. But I hated that job. So when I left it, I was not like looking to claw my way back into it. But there's other jobs that I've had in the past that I absolutely loved. And then when I ended up leaving them for whatever reason, I always looked back at the previous job when I got a new one thinking, oh, I really like that job. Like, this isn't the same as that job. It's very similar with specific people. When you feel like the thing that you've got now, which would obviously be your self-concept, your self-worth, because you could get anyone, you're not looking for anyone better, probably because you sit there thinking, this is the best I can get. Because if you're being treated like, let's say 3 out of 10 by this person, but you see yourself as worthy of 3 out of 10, the idea of getting anyone better is just null and void. You don't think about it because you're like, this is all I'm worth. Until you start working on yourself. So let's say you start to see yourself as a 6 out of 10, you're going to look at this 3 out of 10 as a joke, and you're going to start going for someone else's 6 out of 10 or treats you 6 out of 10. So I find out a lot of time, even though you consciously and logically know that you should move on, or that you feel like you would be better to move on, your self-concept is holding you in place because you don't see yourself as worthy of moving on. You see this person as the end all be all purely because that's what you're used to. That's where your self-worth's at. There is obviously the element of being with someone as well. Obviously, you would, a lot of the time, we allow other people to become sort of our saving graces. They fill that hole that we have within ourselves, again, because of self-concept 90% of the time. So when we break up with them, or they break up with us, we miss what they had, because we don't necessarily miss them. We just miss having that piece filled. And I know a lot of people don't like Andrew Tate. I know that, but I'm going to reference a quote, or I'm going to talk about something that he spoke about that I thought was so powerful. He said that a lot of men stay with women that they feel like they're not happy with because they're scared to miss her. So it's not the idea of like moving on. It's not the idea of the breakup. It's not the idea, but it's the idea of being in that period where you've just broken up and you're before you move on, that you are scared of. You're scared to miss someone because of the feelings that come with it. Because if you move on, you're going to feel like shit because you're just having like a rebound, but then you're still not with them, and you got this horrible little section and they're scared of that. It's the same thing. I feel a lot of people have this, I need to go back to my ex because that's what's familiar. I don't like this period of missing what we had, even though I know it's better for me to move on. So that's kind of where I would say that you're at right now. I would advise to start highly working on your self-concept. And if you still want them back after you've worked on your self-concept, absolutely fine. Start manifesting them back. But 90% of people that I work with that start working on their self-concept look at their specific person and think, what the fuck was I doing? So that's my advice to you. But by no means am I saying that you have to move on from him. That's just where like my experience with working with multiple people has gone, that a lot of the time when you want to move on, but you keep falling back to the previous person, it's either because you don't feel yourself worthy enough to move on, or you don't see yourself as like complete now that you've lost that part of you because you gave too much to them. I hope that helped. We had a very lovely donation of $5 from Natty J. So thank you very much for that, Natty. I really appreciate it. And you say thank you for everything. Well, you're very welcome. I'm so glad to have so many people who show up so regularly, such as yourself as well, Natty. Obviously, you've been here for a very long time now. So thank you very much for the donation, and thank you for the constant support. And that goes for everyone as well that shows up week after week. Thank you so much for the support. It really means a lot. If we could stop with the comments for now and just let me catch up, because I do have to kind of head off in a minute. I'll answer the rest of them, obviously, but if we could just slow down on them, unless I ask you to say something or answer something. Serrano Pepper says, is it obsessing to purchase a lottery ticket every day? I play on my phone and have it on autoplay. This is easier to me than going to the store and buying it when I feel most in the wish fulfilled. So that's an interesting one, actually. I think partially, because if we're to use a different example here, let's say I feel like that would be the equivalent of checking their social media to see if the third party's gone. I think not quite the same, I understand, but that's where I kind of feel like there would be the similarity, which obviously we would all say is partially obsession. I also think you don't need to buy a lottery ticket every single day just to win it. Obviously, if you're going to create this situation, if you're doing your affirmations or living in the end or whatever, you will end up unconsciously, or at least like be pulled to buy that ticket, which would then lead to the win. So I think it would be partially obsession, but I also don't know, purely because you said you have it on autoplay because it's easier, not so that it does buy it every single day to guarantee your chances of winning, or to increase your chances of winning. Sorry. So I would say that if you are purchasing lottery tickets every day just purely to win, I would say that that would be partially obsession. If you're putting on autoplay to auto buy just because you can't be bothered to go to the shop every day, I would just say that that's just saving time. So I feel like maybe the question here should be, how do you feel about the idea of buying lottery tickets every day? Do you feel like you're obsessed, or do you feel like you're just doing it because it's convenient? Oh, now the cat's scratching to get out. Sorry, one sec. You're a pain in my ass, you know that, right? Stupid cat. Okay, so Arnab says, can I use this scene? So how was your date with her? Me, bro, she hugged me at the station and literally started crying. He really... Is that all of it? Yeah, that seems all of it. Yeah, I'd say that's fine. Obviously, that implies that dates have happened, or a date has happened. So if your end result is dating and nothing more, then that's fine. I might say that it might be worth you saying something about her being your partner. It could be like, how was your date with her? Me, bro, she hugged me at the station and she started crying because I asked her to be my girlfriend and she said yes, or something like that. Something that implies that the end result is that you're together, because obviously that's what you want to happen. This would be great for getting dates and stuff, for sure, but it may not necessarily mean it will go any further unless you do the conscious work to make it go further. But as for like the conversation, I think it's a good format, and it's short and sweet as well, which is, I think, is really good. Edgar says, funny enough, I asked about careers earlier, but when it comes to attracting a partner, I cannot wear their qualities. How will they make me feel? What do you do when you're not specific here? So that's an interesting one. I think again, if you can, I know obviously you said that you can't do it so well, but I think that's the first step. And I think maybe just take some time. Or what you could do, this is something that I've done a couple of times. I don't do it that much because I'm usually quite concise on what I want. But get quiet, get comfortable, and like sort of take a few deep breaths, focus on your breath so you get quite relaxed. And then ask yourself, what do I want in a relationship? Or what do I want from a specific person? Or how do I want my life to be if I was in a relationship? Those kinds of questions. Sorry, I do a lot of talking and my throat gets like really dry. And then that might give you some answers on what it is that you actually want, so then you can develop from there. Because yeah, I do think you could obviously just say stuff about like being in your perfect relationship as well. But yeah, I cannot wear their qualities or how they make me feel. What do you do when you're not specific? Well, do what you can. Or like I said, get comfy and ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want in a relationship? What do I want them to be like? And just kind of keep a note, or keep a mental note of anything that comes up. That's the best that you can do, really, because I don't think I feel like it's one of those questions where you can't really go too deep in terms of how to make it happen, because it's like, you can't then ask me, well, how do I get myself quiet enough to get myself into the state where I'll give myself the answers to then know the answers that I'm supposed to be giving myself, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's the place to start there. Get quiet, ask yourself, what do I actually want it from here? And really sit there and think about it, or let it come naturally, depending on kind of how your brain works best. Or just write down what you do know and just develop it from there. Kiati says, hey, I wanted to ask, if I think about my partner and I have some jealous kind of thoughts, then am I on the wrong track? And should I just flip my thoughts or focus on self-concept? So if you're having jealous thoughts, a lot of the time that would be stemming from some sort of self-concept issue, or yeah, mostly self-concept, because like, you're not jealous of people that you have no reason to be jealous of. And if you have reason to be jealous of people, then you clearly don't think that you're on their level, or you clearly think that this person could take your person from you, which again stems from self-concept of being worth more. My advice, if it's just thoughts that kind of come up and you don't really feel much about them, let them go and just then focus on the end result. If it's something that really kind of bothers you, I would advise taking some deep breaths just to center yourself, and then working on self-concept. They're coming up because of your self-concept. They're making you feel crap because of your self-concept. So I would advise focusing on some self-concept. But you could always flip the thought as well. It depends on what feels best for you in that moment. But I would advise, if the thought doesn't feel like a lot, just flip it. If it feels like it's actually getting to you a bit, take a few deep breaths, center yourself, then focus on the part of you that it's kind of attacking, and then kind of move on from there. Top FJ says, I'm only 19 anyway. Speaking of football, have you been watching the game yesterday? You're actually a lot younger than I thought. I don't know why I thought you had been older, but for some reason you're a lot younger than I thought. No, I actually don't watch football. I've never been particularly interested in football. I like basketball, more of a basketball fan. I don't watch that either, but I prefer it. But yeah, so I hope it was a good score. I don't know. Hopefully it was a good game. John M says Caleb is brilliant. Okay, that's good. That's a good vouch. It makes me more inclined to reach out. Hashan says, I'm practicing more and more visualize sats. I can't affirm a lot because I go into 3D for validation. Can I shift reality only with affirmation? Oh, sorry, that's a different question. Sorry, let me read that again because it was a different person with the same color bubble. I am practicing more and more visuals sats. I can affirm a lot because I can't affirm a lot because I go into the 3D for validation. I mean, that makes sense. I feel like that's quite a common thing as well. A lot of people affirm and then their conscious mind is like, well, where is it then? So if that works for you, then great, stick to it. For him, Hussein says, "Can I shift reality only with affirmations?" Yes, you can. I've done it myself, with my job, and yeah, absolutely. John M says Kimberly is pretty cool, funny too. I actually reached out to Kimberly when I reached out to Naya. I did them both at the same time and didn't get a response from Kimberly. So yeah, I've already tried that one. But maybe she'll reply one day. Maybe if you guys put a comment in her thing saying check your emails because Lawofassumption's backdoors message, then she might check it. But as for now, she didn't want to respond, so I don't mind. I got to do it with Naya, and I was happy with the collaboration with Naya. I was happy to get to speak to her more directly. So obviously we had like a little chat outside of the collaboration as well, and I was quite interested to hear her views and stuff. So, and I think the good thing about that collaboration as well, I don't know if any of you watched all the way through. If you didn't, I definitely recommend you go and watch it. Is we had a lot of similar views, but there was actually a point where I challenged her. I was basically like, well, I say this and you're saying something different. You know, can you explain? Obviously not that blunt, but that was essentially what it was. And I think that's really good. I think that's a healthy collaboration because there's stuff that we agree on. So we're not my viewers who are like 100% law of assumption on then dealing with like a law of attraction, like nuthead sort of thing. But I think it's good to have some healthy challenging because then at least it kind of allows that element of discussion of like, well, why does this person think this and why does this other person think something different? And then you can kind of discuss it. So that's why I thought the collab was really good. I was really happy. And like, I'm considering Naya's size, like her channel size, she decided to do a collaboration with me. I think it was like really like humble of her. I think, yeah. So yeah. And then obviously Kimberly ignores me. Jade Lamb says, so I manifested SP on a time crunch past deadline, but like I literally believe that he spent the holiday with me. Feel very good. Is this because of how much I persist in the positive assumption? Yeah, I mean, if you continue to persist, you will eventually start to feel as though it's real. Like I saw, you can manifest on a time crunch. But the thing with manifesting on a time crunch is that when it doesn't happen, a lot of people get quite funny with it. And when it kind of leads up to the time, not saying you did this, but when it's kind of starts to lead up to the time, people start to panic that it's not going to happen. But we need to remember is even though it is possible, your subconscious mind also does not really does not have concept of past, present, and future. So time crunches are a little bit of an odd concept for it. It can happen and anything can happen instantly, but it all just depends on how well you're able to impress the seed. Hashan says, hey, is a complete 180 turnaround possible with an SP? Absolutely. For any of you that have watched my expert video, you know that Katie said that we're not compatible and basically we didn't speak as soon as I left the house. And then, yeah, then when we reconciled, she started saying the opposite. So yes, it is. John M says, I want to see 2 Steps from Hell live. Oh, the band. That's cool. I don't know who they are, but I'll check them out after this, see what they're like. Hopefully they're along my taste. Hashan says, I love Cannibal Corpse. I like them. Georgia, I've heard of them, never heard them though. And Undying, I've never heard of them. I used to growl a lot. Did cover Break You by Log, Embedded by Job for a Cowboy. I don't know any of the last things that you said. Did cover Break You by Log, Embedded by Job for a couple of covers that you did. Oh, that's cool. I do false chord for my band. But yeah, I can't say I've heard of like a lot of who you're saying there. JB says, hey Matt, since we last spoke, my SP got in a relationship. I did say no other girl compares to me, so I think this is my bridge of events. Lol, for fuck's sake, I think I got to be careful what I affirm. Well, just see this as an opportunity for your affirmation to come true. You know, he could come back to you a couple of days from now and basically say, I got with someone else, but like they didn't compare to you. And then there you go, there's your affirmation proved. So try to see it as the best as you can possibly see it. It'll all work out. Just keep persistent. Izzy Wood says, hey, howdy, Izzy. Top FJ says, how would the manifesting football skills work? Like, I can step into the state of being an amazing player and feel it, even if my performance is the opposite. If I said state becomes dominant, if said state becomes dominant, will I just download the skills? I've only been in that state to test it out, and it feels amazing. So let me actually use an example that I've actually had for myself with my vocals. There was a period of time when I was just not feeling it, like I just couldn't seem to get the sounds that I wanted to get. I just kept blowing out my voice really bad, and it was just awful. And I basically decided enough was enough. I was like, no, I am the best vocalist. I started writing it down a little bit. During lines, even mapped lines that I thought sucked, I was like, wow, that was actually the best line that I've ever done. And I started to do this, and I started to just pretend like everything that I did was the shit, even when I was practicing. This was like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what happened to me. I think I just got like very stressed, and then started letting my sort of self-doubt come in a bit in regards to the band. And yeah, literally the past couple of sessions have been absolutely incredible. Probably the best vocal that I've like ever done, basically, like best vocal sessions that I've ever done. And like my sort of passion for the band has been a little bit revitalized as well. And all it did was literally just continue to tell myself that I was the best that there was. And anytime I did anything bad, I just assumed that it was the best that I could have ever possibly have done. And like literally within like a couple of weeks, my next sessions were just amazing. So yeah, you basically will just improve. At least that's my experience with it. It will just happen, and you'll be like, wow, what the fuck is this? This is new. So yeah, yeah. Izzy Wood says, wow, oh my God, so true. I'm not sure what you're referencing with that, but I'm glad you agree. Cappadocia's kid says, I think real mental diet is not flipping the thoughts with affirmations. When I started accepting they are there, changing the state became easier. I feel negative feelings, then let them pass. Yes, absolutely. I don't recommend you affirming over them to cover them. I think it is worth, seeing and literally saying, I see what I'm being shown, but, that's not true for me. Or if you like to do the breathing technique, which is what I do mostly, where you just literally breathe through, focus on your breath and kind of reset yourself. I definitely think that's much more beneficial for you as opposed to like trying to cover them up with, no, everything's great, I'm amazing, love's amazing, blah, 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 blah. Jordan Shang said they're a band called Kula Shaker. I can't say I've heard of them. Describing their sound is difficult. They're like a mix of Jane's Addiction and the psychedelic, trippy spiritual side of the Beatles, basically a alt psych rock band. I can't say that I've heard of them, nor have I heard of any of the other genres. So I hope you enjoy yourself though. Jazz Steve says England versus USA 0-0 score. That's embarrassing, but England suck at everything. Cappadocian Kid says facing the negative emotions and thoughts is really helpful to get in peaceful mindset. Now I feel good in general. I'm glad to hear it for sure. It's any way that you can get yourself into feeling better and to feeling more like level is something to be like, attempting. Nadine McGregor says, with repetition of the same thought / affirmation, or in bracket affirmation, will you begin to believe it more after it initially feeling like you're telling yourself it's a lie? Yeah, most of the time. So what tends to happen, especially if you're utilizing the morning and night when your subconscious mind is most receptive because your conscious mind is kind of shut down a bit, the impression will start to happen, and where your focus goes, energy flows. So this is assuming that you're not like laser beam focusing on anything negative at the same time. Things will start to happen. Your focus will start to kind of push out things to prove to you on your affirmations. And then because you'll start to see it, you'll start to believe it, and then it'll become an easier thing. So let's say, for example, I'm super broke, but I utilize the morning and night to say, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. Over a period of time, it may get to a point where like I might start earning a little bit more. I might get a pay rise from my job. And then all of a sudden I might, start investing, and an investment does really well. And then like over a period of time, like more things will start to happen to show me that I've got the riches that I'm talking about. And then I'll believe that I'm rich because now all of a sudden I've got more money coming in from my job. My investments are doing well. Maybe I cut down on some debts, all of these kinds of things. I'll start to realize I actually am rich. So it doesn't usually start from like an instant belief. What happens is things will start to come into place to get you to where you want to be by simply placing your focus there. And then your affirmations will be easier to believe because you'll start to see them. This is why like they're saying the rich get richer. They believe they're rich. So anytime they think of money, they know that they get more. And then that's why it keeps coming and coming and coming. But initially, it didn't happen like that. Initially, it would have been a slow process, and then it would skyrocket. Am says, who's Kimberly? I haven't heard of her, only Kim Velez. Kimberly is, I think her channel name is like Manifesting with Kimberly or something like that. She's just another LOA coach. A lot of people like her because she's kind of like a bubbly but blunt person. I used to like her content when I used to watch LOA stuff back in the day. I thought it would be good to do a collab, but that's about as much as I could tell you, to be fair. Hashan says, "Log Lamb of God." Oh, I've heard of them. I've never actually listened to them though. Belief Doubt says, "Is there subliminal for manifesting SP?" Absolutely, of course there is. That's probably one of the biggest subliminal things that you could find. Um, Again, like I said earlier, though, just be careful of what you're watching on YouTube. Just because it's, yeah, you just got to be careful with YouTube stuff. I would say to go to a credible source for the subliminals. Nadine McGregor says, "I got a psychic reading for SP. It kind of gave me a setback. Will circumstance change regardless what they told you?" Yes. So a lot of the time readings are only really projecting to you what your current energy is or what your sort of semi-recent energy is. It depends on the reader. Some of them do like recent, some of them do now. Is every reader's kind of does their own thing. But it doesn't mean it's set in stone. If a reader was to say to you that you are going to get your person, that doesn't mean you are going to get your person. It all means that if you continue in the route that you're going to get your person. If they say that you're not going to get your person, that doesn't mean you're not going to get your person. If you continue on the route that you're going, you're not going to get your person. But if you hear you're going to get them, just continue doing what you're doing. If you hear that you're not going to get them, then you know that you need to do a shift. So seeing it as a setback just proves to yourself more than anything where your mindset is. Because if you knew that you were going to get your person, if you were doing the work, if you felt like you had impressed yourself and everything, and you got bad news, you'd kind of just go, whatever. I know this person's mine. I understand that sometimes when you have a person come to you and say, like, this thing isn't going to happen for you, sometimes it can be quite difficult to let it go. But for the most part, if you've been doing the work, if you are impressing the subconscious mind, and if you're really becoming your new version, a lot of the time you'll look at that and go, no, I'm the operant power, so it don't matter. I just wanted to see where I was at, But no, circumstances are not set in stone. A psychic reading cannot tell you the definite 100% truth, 100% like this will 100% happen, because you could change at any moment. Even if they tell you something that you want to hear, you could have a spiral day. And then, so readings are usually there to just show you kind of where you're at more than anything, not what actually is and isn't going to happen. If you're at a good place from a reading, continue in the route that you're going. Carolina says, "My best friend wants to move to a different country. How to manifest her staying? We spend nearly every day together, so visualizing her staying, I wouldn't even know how to start or what to do." So the first thing that I would recommend is to stop focusing on what they've said about moving, because when you focus on things like that, you're just going to cause them to grow. In the reality where they stay, you wouldn't be worrying about them leaving. So I would advise to A, let go of that, and B, just affirm, or visualize something along the lines of them being here. So if you're affirming, you could affirm something like, I'm so grateful that my friend and I will always live close together, or I'm so grateful that regardless, my friend and I will be able to see each other every day. Or if it's a visualization, you could visualize, I don't know, you guys, like, I don't know how old you are, but just as an example, your 30th birthday, and you're like with them saying like, it's crazy that we got to see each other every single day for the past 30 years or something like along those lines. Those are obviously some goofy examples, but have a little bit of a think about it. But the first thing, ignore what they are saying. Don't let that take over your mind, because where your focus goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing and panicking about them moving, that's because you're associating their move to be true for you. And then that's obviously what's going to create it. And then the other side is just say whatever you need to say, or think whatever you need to think that implies that they are still here with you. Belief Doubt says, at Nadine, circumstances don't matter. Psychic typically read the energy you are giving off, so use it as a way to know that you have to work at it more. Yeah, exactly. Am says, Matt, have you met any clients who said stuff that you don't agree, or clients who you find annoying? Okay, so if you say stuff that I don't agree, I've had that where they've gone, I've done this, and I never judge anyone. Never judge anyone. I will give stuff like bluntly. So if someone says, "Oh, I've been like stalking them," I'll never judge them, but I will say, maybe that's not the best thing for you to do. I've had a couple of people do that where they said, "I've done this thing," and I'm like, why? Like, why did that come into your mind? Why did you think that that would be the best thing for you to do? That I've had quite a lot. And I've had clients in the past that have been difficult to work with. I don't particularly find anyone annoying, because it's a mindset thing. We all have ways that our minds work. We all have things that trigger different people. So I'll never find people particularly annoying. But I have had people that I found difficult to work with, like people that are like adamant they've done everything and that there's nothing left for them to do. And why is it not here yet? The law doesn't work. I've had that a lot. And I actually had one of those clients quite early on, actually. And it was really interesting because they were literally like, I've done everything. Everything's perfect. I don't know what else I could possibly do. And then blamed me for not being able to help them. And it's like the first sign of like self-improvement is to accept that there's something that needs improving. And obviously I kept saying to them, look, the way that you're speaking is the reason why it's not happening. You keep saying to yourself, it's not happening, regardless of you doing everything right. That in itself is saying that it's not happened. And they couldn't accept that. And that I found really difficult. And I've had a few of those. But I don't find anyone annoying. Everyone has their own triggers. Everyone has their own beliefs. Everyone has their own like self-concept issues. Everyone has their own everything. So I'll never find anyone annoying. Just that I don't necessarily agree with or that I find difficult to work with. Ouch. If we could stop the comments and stuff now, actually, as well, because I need to answer the rest of these and then head off because I still need to go to eat and my throat is actually getting like quite dry and grim. Like I managed to get through this and it's still. It's funny, isn't it, that I'm a vocalist and yet I can't talk for very long without needing one, needing the drink. Belief Doubt says, do you know a credible source for those subliminals other than the app? Because I don't think the app has that type on it. The app does. The app does have specific stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to, like, if you don't want to know the app, then that's absolutely fine. Credible sources for specific person, I am not too clued up on. Let me see if I can find any that I recognize. Because like I said, I don't know if you were here like at the beginning of the stream. I can't remember if you were the one that asked me about it. Like I said at the beginning, I had only used subliminals as a tester and that were money ones. So specific person, I never used any subliminals for that. The app does have some, but obviously you've asked for not specifically. So I personally don't. What I'll do tomorrow is I will put out a thing that, yeah, I can't find any that I recognize. I'll put out a thing basically saying, does anybody use any specific personal subliminals? And if they could let me know any credible sources and then put it on there. But other than that, I don't know any personally myself. Carolina says, would affirming my best friend is staying in my country, I'm so grateful, or something like that be okay? Or is that low-key focusing on the fact that she's moving, if that makes sense? That is kind of focusing on the movement. That's like saying my person is no longer with their specific person, my person is no longer with the third party. They're still kind of implying that the third party even existed in the first place. So I personally wouldn't have said that. I would say something else that implies that you guys still spent every day together without having to reference the move. So, or like at least still lived in the same country or something along those lines. What could you say? I'm so grateful to have my best friend like within my live in my town always, or something that's also not very good, but something along those lines. Obviously, considering you've asked me that affirmation and then like pointed out that it's low key focusing on the move, says to me that you at least get a rough idea of what I'm trying to get at, and you might be able to have a bit of a better think about kind of what would be better for you. Cappadocian Kid says, I'm manifesting a car, same brand as my parents have. I know how to feel to drive it, just visualizing myself on my favorite route and listening to my playlist. It feels amazing with music. That's cool. One of them is 7 Days in the Sun by Feeder. I don't think I know them. Maybe you feel nostalgic if you played Gran Turismo during your childhood. I don't think I did. No, I don't. I was more, I don't know. I don't know what age range we're talking, like what years we're talking, but I was more of like a Pokemon on the Game Boy kind of kid. Yeah, that's all I can say for that. But no, I'm glad that you've got something that you can use as like an anchor for your visualization. Dua, hopefully I got that right. How to stop focusing on the 3D. Whenever you'll find yourself focusing on the 3D, just remind yourself that the 3D is all old thoughts. And if it's old thoughts, that means your current thoughts are going to create your future's 3D. So notice that everything you're seeing doesn't matter because none of it technically exists. It only exists because it's played out. But what actually exists is up here. So then you go back to living up here and allow that to then create your future. But it depends on what you're kind of focusing on or what's happening for you to stop focusing on. A lot of the time our focus in the 3D becomes too our focus becomes too like drawn into the 3D when we feel a certain way about ourselves. Like it's not gonna work. I'm not gonna get my person because I'm not good enough for them to come back, or like it's not gonna work because LOA doesn't work. So if it's something along those lines, I would recommend finding the root cause of it and then focusing on that and shifting that instead. So if it's like you're very focused on the 3D because you just don't see them coming back to you while they're with a third party. The issue is actually the fact that you don't feel good enough for them to leave the third party for you. So I would recommend shifting that, and then that will allow you to be able to ignore the 3D. Because just as an example, when I was like had less money, a bill came in and I'd shit myself. Now with the money that I have, a bill comes in and I just laugh it off, and it's all because of where I've now got myself perceived to be. I now perceive myself to be like quite financially well off, so now I don't care about anything that has money issues. But that all starts with becoming that. I wasn't always doing so well with money. There was times when I had to look at bills and then move past them. And to do that, I would just focus on the fact that I was making more money and that I'm deserving of money and XYZ. Kiati says, does having moments while visualizing that doesn't feel real is all right, and how to make it feel real? So feeling real is just kind of filling it as if it's already happening. So what kind of things are you feeling, smelling, hearing, seeing, all of those for visualization, and try and build this scene as though you're actually there and loop it until you feel as though you really are there. It's always good to get quite relaxed and let everything go. Do a couple of deep breaths, focus on your breathing, and kind of lay there relaxed. And that's usually like a really good way to feel it real, because then the only thing that you're experiencing is whatever's going on in this visualization, and then that's how you help feel it real. But yeah, it's okay that it doesn't always have to feel real like 100% of the time. Just stay consistent with it more than anything. Cappadocian Kid says it was during PS2 era. I still don't know. I don't know. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Belief is stronger than doubt. I would love to use the app one if it's the same app. I got it from Discord. I paid for it without the promo. It's drop me a. I would love to use the app one if it's the same. Drop me a message or drop me an email and I'll send the promo. And if you're interested, you can lose it for some. Send me an email on that email and we can discuss it. At the moment, I only have the promo for Apple, but they are still working on it for Android. But I love the app. I think it's great. Cappadocian Kid says, the band is from Wales. I thought you knew it. I'm just 2 years older than you. No, I've no idea. Sorry. Olivia says, I've had weeks of feeling it real, knowing it's done and really believe in LOA, but then I have doubts as I've seen no results in almost a year. Thought there would have been movement by now. See, this is the problem. Obviously a year is a long time, so I understand like why you would be like, oh, why no movement, but you got to keep persisting in that and feeling it real. You said that you've had weeks of feeling it real, knowing it's done and believing in the LOA, and then say that it's been a year. It's not been a year if you've only been feeling it real for weeks. It's only been a couple of weeks. So if you've been on and off for the past couple like year and then wavering and like questioning, doubting and all that lot, I don't even really count that. I would honestly recommend you counting it from when you started doing the work and going from there, and then think, oh, actually, if I've only been doing the work for a couple of weeks or a few weeks, then, you know, it's actually not been that long. So, but yeah, the active, no matter how long it is, if you want this thing, let go of the time and just continue to focus on it until it comes in. That's just my best advice in that kind of situation. Just stop worrying about the time, stop worrying about the house, stop worrying about all those kind of things, and just continue to go back to feeling it real. Because if you're feeling it real and then starting to get doubts and stuff, then that means you disassociated with the end result. Says, thank you, Matt. You're definitely one of my favorite LOA coaches online. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate you replying to every comment below your video, helping everyone out there. Well, that's what I'm here for. You know, I started this channel to help people, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And there are people that don't want coaching. There are people that can't afford coaching. There are people that just have one little question that's not really worth going to coaching for. And I'm not going to disregard them just because I like, you know, I want you to pay for my services. So I do my absolute best to help people, you know? Leighton says, can I revise the situation from the past by simply saying what never happened? Oh, that never happened. Sorry, I can't read. Will that literally erase the event for all involved? I want to remove the guilt I feel for something where stuffed up. Okay, so in these kind of situations, I think that's placing focus on it. So to say that never happened, if it never happened, you would have nothing to say that never happened in the first place. So my advice would be to go forward the way that you want, as if it never happened. So instead of, obviously, yes, you can revise the situation, but what I would advise is that you revise it to have gone a different way. Because when you say that never happened, you're looking at the thing that you don't want to happen in order to say that it never happened. However, let's say, for example, you had your car stolen and you're trying to say that never happened. What I would advise is instead just getting into your car and driving home and still having the car, because that implies that it never happened. Whereas saying my car never got stolen, you're placing focus on a reality in which your car got stolen in order for you to say that it never happened. That makes sense. So that's how I would advise it. And if you want to remove guilt that you feel, I would just say that go forward, tell yourself, you've been forgiven, all is forgiven, or pretend that you don't feel guilt. Just shift out of feeling guilt. I know that's not easy, and I know that probably sounds ridiculous, and it kind of like just get over it. But you're feeling the guilt because you're placing your focus back on what happened. You keep reliving it in order to feel the guilt. If you stop reliving it, you're going to let go of the guilt. And I'm speaking from experience on here because I've done some horrible shit in my past that I don't even blink twice at anymore because I don't think about it anymore, And even now when I do, I don't feel guilt because I've moved on from it. So that would be my advice for you there. Carolina says, thank you. You're very welcome. Cappadocian Kid says, thank you so much for the conversation. Appreciate you. You're very welcome. And I'm glad to help. Right, everyone. Thank you. Oh, it was my chair. I thought it was someone stood behind me. Thank you all so much for showing up to the live stream. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in any of my services, obviously, you know where to find my website. It's always in the description. If you're interested in my second channel, also in the description. If you're interested in Katie's channels, also in the description. For those of you that like tarot readings, Katie's obviously does her own tarot readings that you're more than welcome to take a look at. Her services, that's also in the description. And I will get that subliminal app out. If any of you are on Apple and you want the app, the link to the app so you can get it for cheaper, drop me an email or drop me a comment or an Instagram message or whatever. We'll get that sorted. And Android will be very soon. I highly recommend it just purely because I love it, not because of the money. Because as you know now from what I literally just said about where I respond to comments, I don't give a fuck about the money. I want to help you guys. And this has actually been something that has massively helped me. So that's why I said to them, because they originally weren't even going to offer a discount for you guys because it was meant to be like an affiliate thing. And I said, no, we're doing a discount because I want you guys to want it, So yeah, reach out to me if you're interested, and I'll catch you all in the next one. You all have a lovely rest of your days and evenings and weeks and months, and let's all just live good. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.